You weren't expecting this. Not from a team that was finally beginning to find its rhythm. On the court, in the standings, and in the public eye, the Indiana Fever had finally started to feel like a real team. And then, Khloe Bby walked in. The Australian sharpshooter, with a quick release and a quicker mouth, arrived in Indiana like a spark tossed into a pile of dry straw. What was supposed to be a short-term injury replacement for Caitlin Clark turned into the beginning of something deeper. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Sharper. Messier, because Khloe didn't just hit threes. She hit nerves. From the moment she joined the lineup, something shifted. Fans noticed at first how much faster the ball moved, how the team wasn't bogged down by slow-motion offensive sets. Suddenly, the floor opened up. Aaliyah Boston had room to breathe. Kelsey Mitchell looked reborn. And Sophie Cunningham? She went full flamethrower mode, lighting up the aces for 20-plus while flexing at the crowd. And Caitlin Clark? She was still in street clothes, groin taped, jaw clenched, forced to watch it all from the bench. Her team was winning. Without her, that wasn't the plan. The most surprising part wasn't that Khloe Bby fit in, it was how well she fit in. Too well, almost. Like she wasn't just filling a gap, but redefining the team's identity in real time. Her post-game comments didn't help. I thrive in pace. I need the ball to move, Bby said nonchalantly after a 17-point performance. Standing around? That's not basketball. Not for me. And just like that, the fuse was lit. Whispers turned into full-blown speculation. Was that a dig at Caitlin Clark's play style? Was Bby implying that Clark, the supposed franchise savior, was slowing the team down? Caitlin didn't say anything publicly, but behind closed doors, sources say she wasn't thrilled. One insider described the mood in the locker room as tense, icy, and quiet. Another put more bluntly, it's turning into a power struggle. But here's the thing, Clark is the face of the franchise. The league has built entire campaigns around her. Nike commercials, national TV slots. She is the ticket. So now you have a bizarre paradox. A team that plays looser and faster without its biggest star. A newcomer who's giving the Fever an identity and unintentionally throwing their marketing strategy into chaos. And then came the Griner bombshell. No one saw it coming. A lifetime ban. A legend disgraced. The league's foundations rattled. But for the Fever, the timing couldn't be worse. While the rest of the WNBA was scrambling to make sense of the fallout, game rigging, misconduct, leaked tapes, the Fever locker room was turning in on itself. The team was winning, but the chemistry was fraying. Coaches were caught between protecting their investment in Clark and rewarding the players currently carrying the team. And then Khloe Bby did again. Another post-game quote, this time after the Fever's second straight win. We don't need to wait for someone to tell us who the star is. We know what's working. Boom. The locker room exploded. Sophie Cunningham reportedly backed her up. Kelsey Mitchell stayed quiet, but her smirk said plenty. Natasha Howard? She rolled her eyes and walked out of media availability altogether. Caitlin, again, said nothing, but during warm-ups, she was noticeably more distant. She signed fewer autographs, spoke less, and for the first time in her career, people started to wonder, is Caitlin Clark losing the locker room? Of course, nobody's saying out loud. Not yet, but the energy is undeniable. Coaches are privately panicking, trying to thread a needle between short-term wins and long-term branding. Clark's team-first attitude is being tested like never before, and Khloe Bby, intentionally or not, is forcing a reckoning. The fans are split. Some are loving the new-look Fever. They're tweeting about Cunningham's redemption arc, Mitchell's leadership, and Bby's swag. They're asking tough questions. Should Clark adapt? Should the team even rush her back? Others are furious. They call Khloe arrogant, say she's riding a hot streak, and will flame out like all role players do. That Clark is the franchise and should be the centerpiece no matter what. And in the middle of it all is a rookie phenom with the weight of a league on her shoulders, and a team that just might be moving on without her. Because here's the truth, winning changes everything. It creates new stars. shifts power dynamics, and exposes hidden cracks that smiling press conferences can't hide. Khloe Bby wasn't supposed to start a civil war. She was just supposed to shoot threes. But now, she's become a symbol of something bigger, a new way of playing, a new way of thinking, a new fever. The question is, where does Caitlin Clark fit into that? Does she come back and reclaim her throne, transforming the offense into something even better? Does she bend her style to match what's working? Or does the team go back to what it was, slower, more deliberate, more focused on her? No one knows. But what we do know is this. The Fever aren't waiting. They're winning. And Clark has never faced this kind of challenge before. Not in college, not in media, not anywhere. She's no longer just fighting opponents. She's fighting for control of her team. And as the WNBA reels in the Griner scandal, as sponsors get nervous and the league tries to clean house, the Fever might just be showing the league what reinvention looks like. Not every team needs one star. Sometimes a constellation works better. And right now, that constellation includes Khloe Bby, Sophie Cunningham, and a squad that's tired being treated like a supporting cast. So what happens next? Does Caitlin Clark rise, evolve, and lead a new era of team-first basketball? Or does the Fever fracture under the pressure of too many voices, too many styles, and too much attention? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. This isn't just a team trying to win games anymore. It's a team trying to decide who it really is. And Caitlin Clark? She's not just the face of the franchise. She might be its greatest test yet. For most rookies, the hardest adjustment to the pros is the speed, the pace, the pressure. But for Caitlin Clark, it's the politics. Because when the locker room starts whispering, when teammates begin picking sides, and when wins roll without your name in the box score, that's when the game changes. And right now, every day Clark spends on a bench healing is another day the team learns to play without her. That should terrify Indiana's front office. But here's the twist. It doesn't. Not yet. Because on paper, things are working. Attendance is up. Social engagement is through the roof. The Fever are getting coverage on every sports network, and not just for Clark's highlights. They're being talked about for their chemistry, their grit, their unexpected firepower from names casual fans couldn't pronounce 2 weeks ago. And it's all happening while their number one draw sits on the bench, nursing a groin that just won't heal fast enough. But make no mistake, Caitlin Clark isn't oblivious. She hears it. She sees the subtle body language during huddles, the cold shoulder high fives, the accidental missed passes from teammates who used to rally around her just weeks ago. She's not a victim. She's a competitor, a tactician, and she's planning her return like it's a playoff series. Sources say she's been staying late after practices, rerunning sets with second-unit players, refining off-ball movement, even working with team trainers on new conditioning techniques aimed at integrating better with a faster-paced game plan Bby and Mitchell have installed in her absence. This isn't about proving she's still the star. It's about proving she can adapt, that she can lead a team full of scorers, not just command the spotlight. But adapting isn't the hard part. The hard part is trust. And that's evaporating fast. Khloe Bby may be the newest Fever player, but she walks like she's been here for years. She jokes loudly during warm-ups. She dances during timeouts. She's built chemistry with Aaliyah Boston faster than anyone expected on and off the court. Even Cunningham has reportedly started referring to her as the spark plug. One insider described their relationship as instant electricity. That same insider, by the way, described Clark as a bit of a battery pack, powerful but heavy. Ouch! These subtle digs aren't just talk. They're reshaping the locker room hierarchy. Every team has one. It's unspoken but real. And right now, the triangle of power in Indiana, Bby, Cunningham, and Mitchell, doesn't include Clark. Yet, meanwhile, Clark's media appearances have noticeably shifted. Her usual high energy, joke-filled segments are more reserved, measured, professional. Some fans have noticed she's choosing her words carefully, avoiding any statements that could fuel rumors of discord. But even that silence has created noise. She's isolating herself, One former WNBA player turned analyst said on a podcast, "That's not what a leader does. She should be clapping on the sidelines, getting in people's faces, owning the bench energy." Problem is, Clark has done all that, but now it's being framed as performative. Because when the narrative turns, it turns fast. 1 minute, you're the savior of the league. The next, you're the ice queen sitting with folded arms, watching your replacement drain threes and dance with your teammates. And while all this unfolds, the WNBA as a whole is spiraling. The Brittany Griner scandal has exploded. Reporters are digging up years of footage, stats, anonymous quotes. There's talk of an external commission investigating the league's competitive integrity. Allegations range from game manipulation to backroom favoritism. And the Griner ban? It was just the beginning. Sponsors are getting nervous. Networks are pushing for more transparency. And young stars like Clark are caught in the middle of a league identity crisis. Because how do you build trust in a system where favoritism and chaos are more visible than accountability? This is a context Caitlin Clark is returning to: a fractured league, a volatile locker room, a team that's learning to win without her, and wondering if they need to shift the blueprint entirely. But if you think she's going to crumble under all that, you haven't been watching. Caitlin Clark lived for this. She didn't shatter records at Iowa because she was liked. She did it because she was relentless, unstoppable, the type of player who thrives when the crowd's against her and the stakes are high. And whether the Fever are ready or not, she's about to remind them. Insiders say her return is imminent, not next month, not sometime soon, this week. And when she does come back, it won't be as a reluctant superstar trying to ease her way back into the flow. It will be with a statement. Word is Clark has been working privately on a modified playbook, sets designed to blend pace with her elite vision. Quick passes, off-ball screens, kickouts to shooters like Bby. She wants to show that her game isn't the problem. It's the missing piece. A reinvention, not a return. But here's the kicker. None of it will matter if the team doesn't buy in, because no playbook can solve resentment. No jump shot can fix a fractured locker room. And no star, no matter how brilliant, can win alone. The Fever are staring down a moment of truth. They can fracture under the weight of internal drama, media frenzy, and league-wide scandal. Or they can rise. Caitlin Clark is coming back, not just to play, but to lead. But will anyone follow? That's the question hanging over Indiana. And the answer? It won't come from a press conference. It's going to come from the hardwood. One pass, one possession, one game at a time. Because in this league, trust isn't given. It's earned. Caitlin Clark's return didn't come with fireworks. No dramatic pregame speech. No explosive highlight reel dunk. Just her usual warm-up routine. A few nods to teammates, and the unmistakable buzz from the crowd when her name was announced. It wasn't a coronation. It was a test. Could she still run this team? Because while she'd been gone, the Fever had discovered something else. Rhythm. Not always perfect, sometimes erratic, but it was theirs. Players like Sophie Cunningham and Khloe Bby had begun finding chemistry. Roles were being redefined. And for the first time, the Fever weren't waiting for Clark to carry them. They were moving without her. And then she checked in. It was the second quarter. The team was up by 6 against the Dallas Wings. Coach White glanced down the bench, gave a quick signal, and Clark peeled off her warm-up. The crowd erupted, and just like that, the air shifted. The first few possessions were awkward. You could feel it, the hesitation. Bby hesitated to hand off the ball. Mitchell waved off a play Clark tried to call. There were overlapping cuts, missed screens, unforced turnovers. And Caitlin? She looked frustrated, but not out of control, not defeated, just reading the room, because that's what elite players do. They adjust. On the next possession, Clark gave up the ball early, then slid off to the corner instead of demanding it back. Bby took the drive and kicked it to Cunningham, who nailed the open three. Clark didn't celebrate wildly, but she clapped hard. That subtle gesture didn't go unnoticed. By halftime, the lead had shrunk to 2. The locker room, according to insiders, was tense. Clark kept to herself, icing her legs, listening. The coaches reviewed tape. No rants, no finger-pointing. And then in the third quarter, something flipped. Clark came out like she'd solved the puzzle. She stopped calling plays. She started reading them. She played off Bby, feeding her for 2 quick threes. Then she hit a deep step back of her own. She clapped for teammates, chest bumped Boston after a defensive stop. Even laughed with Mitchell after a broken play turned into an accidental assist. By the fourth quarter, the Fever were up 10. It was the first time since her return that Clark didn't look like the centerpiece. She looked like the conductor, and that's the evolution everyone needed to see. Not the sharpshooter, not the floor general, but the unifier, the player who could fold herself into the system rather than demand the system revolve around her. The player who understood that leadership doesn't always come from volume. It comes from vision. But not everyone was on board. After the game, one teammate was caught on camera exiting the locker room early, shaking her head. No words, just a look that said, "This ain't over." That's the thing about change. It never comes without pushback. Some veterans feel displaced. Others feel overlooked. And when the media is constantly framing one player as a future, it's easy to feel like everyone else is just living in her shadow. But Clark, to her credit, isn't feeding that fire. In post-game interviews, she gave credit to everyone on the floor. She praised the coaching staff for giving her new ways to contribute. She even went out of her way to highlight the spark Khloe's given us these past few games. It's strategic. It's sincere. It's smart. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't just want to be the best player in the WNBA. She wants to be the most complete. But this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about branding. The Fever are sitting on a marketing goldmine, and the pressure from sponsors is real. Clark sells tickets. Clark gets eyes on broadcasts. Clark trends on every platform every time she breathes near the three-point line. That level of exposure creates tension inside the building. Players see the endorsement deals. They see the cameras follow one person. They feel the gap between contribution and compensation. And the league isn't helping. The Griner fallout has everyone on edge. New investigations, shifting media narratives, even whispers of other players being monitored for off-court conduct. It's like the WNBA got dropped into a blender, and everyone's still trying to figure out who's left standing. For young stars like Clark, it's baptism by fire. And yet, she's adapting. She's showing up to community events with no cameras present. She's mentoring young fans, even inviting local high school guards to watch practices and shoot with her after. She's building loyalty that goes beyond the court. But make no mistake, this season's not over and the storm hasn't passed. There are games ahead where Clark will have an off night, where the chemistry will falter, where old tensions will rise again, where one heated timeout could undo a month's worth of progress. The question isn't, will Clark shine? We already know the answer. The real question is, can she lead a team that's not sure it wants to follow her yet? That's the arc we're watching unfold. It's not just about groin injuries, game stats, or ESPN segments. It's about identity. About proving you can be a franchise cornerstone and a teammate, a headline maker and a culture builder. If she pulls it off, Caitlin Clark won't just revive the Fever. She'll redefine what leadership in women's basketball looks like. And if not, well, this league's watching and waiting. By the next morning, headlines were already swirling. Not about the final score, not about the win, but about the Fever's vibe. The whispers became louder. Was there a leadership change happen behind the scenes? Was Clark, fresh off an injury, about to take control of a locker room that never fully felt like hers to begin with? Inside that locker room, it wasn't so simple. There were dynamics at play that no stat sheet could capture. Vets like Natasha Howard had been in this league for years. They'd seen stars come and go. They'd played through seasons where nobody showed up to watch. Now, suddenly, every arena was packed, but the credit mostly funneled to a rookie. That kind of shift doesn't always go down easy. And Khloe Bby, she wasn't trying to step on anyone's toes, but her impact was loud. When you walk into a system and immediately space the floor, hit your shots, and get fan buzz, people notice. Her comments about playing fast and free weren't just observations. They were signals. To the coaching staff, to the fans, maybe even to Clark herself. But here's the thing. Clark got it. She understood the politics. She understood that respect in a locker room isn't earned through endorsements or ESPN segments. It's earned possession by possession. So she kept her head down and played the long game. In practice, she let BBY take lead on shooting drills. In huddles, she deferred more asked questions. It wasn't weakness. It was awareness. She was rewriting the power structure without ever raising her voice. Coach White saw it too. She began designing sets with multiple ball handlers, giving Clark and BBY shared control. She let Cunningham take more pull-up threes early in the clock. The offense stopped being about one player and became about pressure, constant movement, unselfish rotations, mismatches exploited. Clark was still the brain, but now she was also the glue. The Fever started winning, not blowing teams out, not dominating, but competing, fighting, surprising people. And as they climbed the standings, slowly, stubbornly, the narrative began to shift. No longer just Caitlin Clark's team. Now it was the Fever are figuring it out. And that's what makes this all so compelling. Because growth in sports and in life is rarely cinematic. It's not a slow-motion training montage with a swelling soundtrack. It's messy. It's awkward. It happens in silences, in misreads, in shared eye rolls between teammates trying to understand each other. But when it clicks, it's electric. Clark doesn't need to take back the team. She never really lost it. What she's doing now is harder. Building a team that works, with her, not around her. That's not something you achieve in a single game. That's something you build, brick by brick. And right now, she's laying the foundation.